It was early morning in downtown Chicago. The city that usually woke up to the sound of coffee machines and subway rumbles was breathing differently today. Slow, heavy, uncertain. Emma Lewis tightened her scarf against the sharp October wind. Her camera hung around her neck, swinging with every hurried step she took across Grant Park. Her earpiece crackled with the voice of her editor. "Emma, you're live in 30 seconds. Keep it neutral, no opinions. Just facts." Emma took a deep breath and looked around her. Thousands of people were gathering. Flags waved, banners read, "No Kings," and "Democracy Lives Here." The sky above looked bruised, painted in a mix of orange and gray, like it couldn't decide whether to shine or cry. "Copy that," she said softly, then whispered to herself. Just facts, in a world that's forgotten what that means. The protests had started as whispers online. A week ago, the president had signed a controversial order giving federal agents more authority, more surveillance, less accountability. Within 48 hours, the internet caught fire. Millions of Americans had posted the same phrase. "We fought kings once. We'll do it again." And now, the world was watching. The first wave of protesters moved like a tide through Michigan Avenue. Students, veterans, nurses, workers, all walking together. Some shouted, others just stood silently, holding candles in broad daylight. A little boy, maybe 10 years old, held a cardboard sign that read, "My grandpa fought for freedom. I'll fight too." Emma crouched down beside him, turned her camera on, and asked gently, "Who's your grandpa?" The boy smiled shyly. "Larry Hughes. He's a soldier. He said democracy is something you feed every day, like breakfast." Emma's heart stung a little. She knew that name. Larry Hughes was a retired veteran who had spoken on local radio last week, defending the right to protest. And sure enough, a few feet away in a wheelchair, sat Larry himself, holding an old military flag. The fabric was faded, but his grip was firm. "Larry Hughes," she greeted him with respect. "Sir, what brings you here today?" Larry chuckled, his voice raspy but strong. "Miss, I'm too old to march, too tired to fight, but I can still stand for what's right, even if sitting down." Emma smiled. That's going to be the quote of the day. By noon, the crowd had doubled. Police barricades were up, helicopters circled the skyline, and chants echoed off glass towers like thunder rolling between skyscrapers. "No kings. No fear. We are still here." Emma's phone buzzed nonstop with alerts. Some were from her station, some from social media. A rumor was spreading that federal agents were preparing to clear the park. Tear gas had already been used in Washington, D.C., and several arrests were reported in New York. She raised her camera and zoomed in on the distant horizon. A line of armored vehicles was inching toward the crowd. Her earpiece buzzed again. "Emma, do not engage. If it escalates, pull back immediately." But she didn't move. Her journalist's instinct told her, this was the moment. The kind that defined history. Larry noticed it too. He tapped the side of his wheelchair. "You see that, miss? They're not coming to listen." Emma's heart pounded as chants turned to cries. Smoke hissed, loudspeakers blared. "This gathering has been declared unlawful. Disperse immediately." But no one moved. Instead, an older woman stepped forward, holding her sign high. "We are the people." Seconds later, the air cracked. A tear gas canister landed near her feet. She screamed, stumbled, and fell. Emma coughed, eyes burning, camera still rolling. Through the haze, she saw Larry trying to move his wheelchair back, coughing violently. "Larry!" she shouted, running toward him. A soldier in riot gear shoved her aside. She fell to her knees, gripping the cold pavement, gas swirling around her like poison fog. Her camera dropped, but it was still recording, capturing chaos, screams, and the trembling hand of a veteran reaching for his flag. Why the next morning, the footage had gone viral. Over 50 million views in 12 hours. The image of Larry Hughes, the old veteran with a tear gas cloud behind him, clutching the American flag, became a symbol overnight. The hashtags exploded. Hashtag no kings. Hashtag justice for Larry. Hashtag democracy lives. News channels replayed Emma's footage nonstop. But Emma didn't celebrate. She sat alone in her small apartment, the same footage looping on her laptop. Her hands trembled every time Larry's face appeared, brave, determined, and fading in the mist. Then came the news that shattered her heart. Larry Hughes had passed away in the hospital that morning, respiratory failure caused by tear gas exposure. Emma pressed her palms to her face. The weight of it all crushed her. She wasn't just a reporter anymore. She was part of the story now. 2 days later, Chicago gathered again. This time not for a protest, but for a vigil. The streets were silent, covered with candles. Larry's wheelchair sat empty near the front stage, his flag draped over it. Emma stood at the microphone, trembling slightly. The crowd stretched for miles. She had never spoken to an audience before, but today wasn't about fear. Larry Hughes once told me, she began voice cracking, that democracy is something you feed every day, like breakfast. And if you skip it long enough, you starve. The crowd listened, motionless. He didn't die fighting an enemy. He died holding the same flag he once fought to protect, from those who forgot what it means. We aren't rebels. We aren't enemies. We are citizens. And citizens don't kneel. Tears streamed down faces. Some raised their candles higher. From the back, a group of soldiers, veterans like Larry, saluted in silence. Emma continued, if Larry were here, he'd tell you not to be angry, but to be awake. He'd tell you freedom isn't stolen in one night. It fades in silence, when good people stop talking. Her voice broke. So today we speak. For him. For all of us. The crowd erupted into applause, not loud, but deep. A kind of sound that came from the soul, not the throat. That same night, the White House released an official statement. It accused foreign influence of funding the protests. Then, the president himself posted a video on social media. An AI-generated clip showing him dressed in royal attire, sitting on a golden throne, mockingly saying, if you want a king so badly, I can play the part. The internet went mad. Some laughed. Some screamed. Some swore they'd never vote again. But for millions, it was confirmation of what they already feared, that the country had crossed a line. Within hours, protests reignited. From Los Angeles to New York, people flooded streets again, shouting the same phrase that had started it all. We fought kings once. We'll do it again. It was now day 5 of the protests. Grant Park was a battlefield of broken signs, candles, and crushed water bottles. Emma returned to the same spot where Larry had fallen. She turned her camera on herself this time. This is Emma Lewis reporting from Chicago. 5 days ago, a veteran died here, not for war, but for words. Today, I'm not reporting news. I'm reporting history. Behind her, clouds were darkening again. Thunder rumbled over Lake Michigan. Rain began to fall, slow, heavy drops turning the dust to mud. People didn't leave. They raised their faces to the sky, letting the rain wash away the sting of tear gas, the taste of fear. In the distance, a teenage girl lifted a sign. My grandpa Larry taught me courage. Emma froze. She walked closer. The girl's eyes were red, her hands trembling, but she smiled. You're his granddaughter? Yes, the girl whispered. And I'm not scared anymore. Emma smiled weakly. Neither am I. She turned back to the camera, rain dripping down her cheeks. Maybe that's what freedom really is, not the right to shout, but the courage to stay standing when everyone else sits down. That night, Emma went live from her phone. No studio. No filters. Just her voice and the storm behind her. I was told to stay neutral, she said, but neutrality is silence. And silence is surrender. This is not about politics anymore. It's about people, about the idea that no one man, no office, no title should ever silence the voice of millions. Larry's story is our story. His voice is gone, but ours isn't. Not yet. Her stream hit 120 million views within 6 hours. International networks picked it up. World leaders reacted. And for the first time in years, America's streets were united in something other than division. 2 days later, something extraordinary happened. At exactly 8 p.m., across all 50 states, People turned off their lights and lit candles at their windows. No one had organized it. It just happened. From skyscrapers in Manhattan to small farms in Texas, tiny flames flickered in the darkness. And every window seemed to whisper, "We remember." Emma stood on her rooftop, camera rolling. The entire skyline was glowing, a galaxy of quiet defiance. She whispered into her mic, "The day America stopped to breathe is the day it learned to speak again." A week later, the emergency bill was revoked. Congress announced an inquiry into the president's conduct. The protests ended, but something deeper remained, an awareness, a bond, a pulse that wouldn't fade easily. Emma visited Larry's grave that morning. The flag folded neatly beside a small marble stone. Someone had left a note that said, "We'll keep feeding democracy, Grandpa." She smiled through tears. "You did it, Larry," she whispered. "They heard you." She placed her camera down and recorded one last message. "My name is Emma Lewis. I came here to cover a story, but I found something bigger. I found proof that voices still matter, that courage doesn't die quietly, and that sometimes it takes a storm to make a nation breathe again." 6 months later, a mural appeared in downtown Chicago. It showed Larry in his wheelchair, holding the flag. Behind him, people of every color, age, and belief raising candles to the sky. At the bottom, a single line was written, "We fought kings once." Tourists stopped to take pictures. Children asked their parents what it meant. And somewhere in the crowd, Emma stood quietly, camera in hand, smiling. Because history doesn't belong to those who rule, it belongs to those who remember. If this story moved your heart, don't let it end here. Like, share, and subscribe, not just for stories, but for voices that still dare to speak.